Good morning everyone, Jem here, and we are back in our colour cave. We're going to carry on this morning with our summer nights page that we had started. The sunshine is very bright this morning. You can see I've got a shadow here. It's actually from my pot plant that sits on the windowsill. So I've tried to kind of move it out the road so it's not in the way of the picture. We're not complaining though, because any sort of sunshine is good sunshine. I will move the camera accordingly if it's going to cast a shadow and we can't see what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on and with these green colours to finish off these parts of the flower, and then we're going to get into some really cool colours for the main body of the flower. So just a quick reminder, we are using Polychromos pencils, and I have here the lightest colour is the light green and our mid colour is leaf green. And the darkest one is the pine green. Oh, there we go. Ta-da! So essentially the same as what we were doing before, the same methods. But we're going to try and have a bit of light reflecting, which we're going to show with a very, very light coat of the lightest colour. But again, as I did before, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a very light layer of the light green over all the parts to begin with, and then I shall start my placement and deciding where I want the darker sections to go before committing to it and starting to get the layers down. So we'll just get this light layer of the light green down first, and then we can have a little think about where we want our darker colours to go. Okay, so we decided that the light was coming from where the camera is, so I'm foreseeing a lighter patch in this area here towards the edge of this, because it seems to be, to me, curving down towards us a little bit, very similar to what we did up here. This bit will probably be in shadow at the corners and be darker here because it's in behind, and then a little bit lighter up here. So we shall try with that and see how we go. So I'll take my leaf green now, and I'm just going to start building up a little bit of this mid-tone. Wow, that sunshine's really bright. I'm quite enjoying sitting here this morning. The weather had broken for a week or so there. We did have unnaturally warm temperatures for us in Scotland at this time of year, and having had a look at the weather forecast, we've to go back to having really warm weather again. So I'm hoping that today's the start of it. It is actually cloudy outside, but at this moment the sun is managing to fight its way through, so hopefully we're in for quite a warm spell again, and we can all be a little bit happier in Scotland. Granted, we did actually need, we had a bit of rain, and we did need it because all our crops are scorched, and also our lawn, which is really unusual. Again, we tend to be in quite a wet climate, so we were kind of panicking a little bit. We're like, oh no, what are we going to do? Yeah, but we'll take it as it comes. All right, so the pine green I'm just going to use to darken right in at the base here. I'm not going to bring it out too far though, because of the way that this leaf is sitting. And I think that we'll probably do a little bit in this corner as well. And just bring that along. Now by putting the sort of darker colour along the top of this line here, I'm just trying to give the impression that that little part is tucked in behind the bigger leaf. Just get that nice and dark in that corner. And my mid-green. Just bring this down on the underside And I'm going to leave the bulk of this part here quite pale to show where the light is hitting it. Now with this part here, I'm just going to build up my layers a little bit so that we can get it as vibrant as this section up here. So I'm not pressing hard, I'm just building up layers. So just medium press. I'm not actually pressing down on the pencil per se, I'm just kind of letting it go across the paper. Just build it up gradually. I'm trying my very hardest not to sniff too much through this video. I have been unwell. I had an almighty head cold. I feel as if someone had sort of like plugged up all my airways with cotton wool. I'm feeling better now, but I still sound congested and it sounds a lot worse than it actually is, but I'm quite aware that when I'm doing things like this, no one wants to listen to me sniffing. So I'm going to try my hardest, but as I say, I'm not feeling as bad now, which is nice. There was a day or two there where I felt pretty awful, but I seem to have come out the other side of it now, so it's something I always get a little bit grumpy about, things like that, because we are farmers. We're not generally in contact with a lot of people on a daily basis, and we tend not to pick up any illnesses or bugs that are going around, and if we do, it's not very frequently. So I always take a bit of a huff when I get something like this. I'm like, right, who's given me this? I was not a happy camper. It was actually my partner had picked it up. He had it first. I actually thought I'd avoided it, and I was getting all smug with myself, and then about a week after he had it, all of a sudden it started with me, and I was like, oh no, I don't want this. I haven't had a cold or flu since 2012, so yeah, you can see why I wasn't amused by it at all. I was like, you've given me your germs. So yeah, that was pleasant. I was like, thanks, really appreciate that. But this week that has been the least of my worries, if I'm perfectly honest. I had my hen party, and I had to cut it short. I was supposed to be away for the weekend, and I ended up having to come home early on Sunday because my partner had to take himself to hospital. That wasn't ideal. It was very scary. He was very unwell, and again, it's really not like him. We have quite robust immune systems, and I think it's maybe just due to the sort of myriad of bugs and things that we're exposed to on the farm on a day-to-day basis. We generally don't struggle with with illnesses and bugs and bacteria. So I was actually quite frightened because Mr. Jem's basically bulletproof most of the time, and when things like that happen, you're like, oh, it must be serious. And the upshot of it was we took him to hospital and they kept him in. He developed a rash over his entire body, head to foot, and the only way I can describe it is like someone had thrown a bucket of boiling water over him. He looked his whole body, all over his face down to his toes, looked as if he was scalded, and there was these big sort of red wheals that had come up on his skin. So after much toing and froing and head scratching at the hospital, his tongue had started to swell up, his eyelids and his lips, and he was complaining of his chest feeling tight. Now, I would associate that with an anaphylactic reaction, an allergic reaction to something like a bee sting or something that has been eaten, because I am allergic to nuts. And I also suffer with various skin complaints. So that was my first thought. But Mr. Jem does not have any allergies. He's never had any allergies. So I found that quite strange. Eventually we saw a dermatologist, and he told us that in healthy adults who generally keep well and aren't ill very often, if you've had a bout of a viral flu or, a really bad cold, sometimes the body overreacts to what's been wrong with you because it's not used to being unwell, and it launches this sort of overzealous immune response, which is what happened to James. And the way it does it is by overproducing histamine, which is an inflammatory response. So Basically, yeah, his body was just trying to protect itself because it's not used to being that sick, and it kind of went horribly wrong. So they managed to get his breathing back to normal and his skin to calm down. They gave him lots of different drugs for that, and yeah, they kept him in a couple of days, but he's home now. Yeah, so the section of my hen party that I did enjoy before things started to go wrong, I had lots of friends and mostly family actually, and we went to one of these escape rooms, you know, where you get locked in a room and you have to solve all the puzzles to get out. So we did that and we had really good fun doing that. That was great. The room we were in was a themed room, and it was called Witches and Wizards, and it was basically a Harry Potter room. And two of my closest friends are absolute Harry Potter nuts. So that they were really happy about that. They were really excited about that. But yeah, we did well. We got out eventually, which was good. There was always that sort of slight fear of being a failure and not being able to get out. I would highly recommend them if you've not done one before. Go with a couple of friends, you know, take some people with you. It's really, really good fun, and it's great logical thinking as well. And it's amazing how much you work as a team, and it's amazing how everyone's different ways of thinking and thought processes all sort of come together. It's yeah, it's pretty good. We also did a cocktail masterclass, which was awesome. I had the best fun. I love doing stuff like that. And we made some pretty tasty cocktails. I had one with coconut in it. It was lovely. Righty-ho, I think we're done with that for now. We're going to start on these flowers now, and I've kind of thought about what we're going to do here, and the flowers to me, particularly this one, it's more obvious in this one, there are two sections to the flowers. There's this sort of speckly underlayer, if you sort of see what I mean, and then there's these much squarer petals that come down underneath. On this other one up here, there's only two sections of these kind of more square petals, but I'm going to split them up, so we're going to work on them separately. We're going to break it down. So these speckled, slightly pointier petals, I am going to stick with pinky purple colours, and then when we get down into the square leaves, we're going to go into the rest of the colour wheel. Now, if you remember last time, I did say we were going to be working in this sort of section of the colour wheel, so from the sort of pinky purples through to the yellows. So that's the plan. Alright then, so for these speckly parts, I have 3 shades of pencil. I have crimson, middle purple pink, which is one of my, not my favourite pencils, but I seem to use it quite a lot. And also I have violet as well. Violet. I'm just going to show you on a scrap piece of paper here. Try and get a piece that's not covered in stuff. So there's the crimson. There's the violet. And there is the middle purple pink. Sorry, take pencils out my mouth. So we're going to go from a dark purpley colour up to pink, and that's, you know, we're going to do it in a sort of a gradient. It's not going to be a strict gradient because, again, we're going to make sure we've got little highlights for where the light's hitting, but that's the sort of general pattern that we're going to go for. So again, being left-handed, I prefer to start up here. And we'll start with the smaller leaves, and we can build up round about that. Okie dokie, so starting with this one in here, we'll get our violet down in behind at the back. So started off with a really heavy pressure in that little corner there. Again, just because it's kind of tucked in behind, I really want that to be as dark as I can get it in this violet colour. And as I sort of come round the front of this little green part, then I'm going to start to ease off a little bit. Here is my crimson. Now light pressure here, because again I'm going for colour placement here. First of all, just to make sure that I've got enough of each colour and that I'm happy with it. But I'm keeping it nice and light because if I want to have that highlight for where the, you know, the light's actually hitting the page, I need to keep that pale. And then just at the tip there, I've got the middle purple pink here. I'm just going to pop that in. Okay, that's pretty good. So I think we'll have just a little bit of light hitting the end. So with the, again, back to the middle purple pink, I'm just going to put a very slight second layer and darken it down and light up towards the tip, so it's just the very, very tip that's getting the light. And then back in with the crimson. And again, I'm easing it off up towards the top here. And you can see that I've just left a sort of little pale patch just at the very top there. And again, that's just really to show a little bit of light hitting it. And blend that in with the purple. Back to my darkest colour. Now, just a light coat here until I decide how far out I want to bring this violet colour. I'm not entirely sure because we've got quite a lot of leaf area down the bottom here, so I want to try and keep a balance of, you know, of the three colours. So I might have to bring it down a bit further than I would think, just because there's going to be more of the pinky colour at the bottom here. Hoping it's going to look pretty good though. I think that this is a really good way. It's not the only way to do things, but I do find that using this light coat to begin with, just to decide where you're putting your colours, it's a really good way to do things, because if you decide you're not happy with something, it's quite easy to go in and rub it out, you know, to erase it. And, you know, you can adjust things without too much hassle. It is more difficult with the darker colours like purple, but if you keep that nice light hand, it should be considerably easier. Now I don't want the highlight to be really, really obvious on these, because when I look at this picture, I don't think of these leaves as being smooth and shiny. Leaves, I keep saying leaves. Petals. I don't see these petals being shiny. So I'm going to do what I've done up here. There is going to be a hint of colour, so it's going to be a very, very subtle highlight if there is one at all. So there we go, just get this crimson down. Just a little bit to begin with. Can you hear my little dog waffling? Oh. I think that's Mr. Jem coming in. What are you barking at, Woo? She's so funny. For such a small dog, she's actually she's very mild mannered for a Jack Russell, but she is quite territorial. When she hears someone, we have gravel outside of our house. Quiet. We have gravel outside of our house, and when she hears footsteps or she hears the gate, Tilly, be quiet. And when she hears the gate, she starts to bark, and but she's wagging her tail when she does it. So I think it's just a protective thing, but the minute you open the door, she stops and she starts wagging her tail at whoever it is that's come in. Jock's wagging his tail now as well, that's my collie. Okay, Mr. Jem has left the building, so we can carry on without too much hassle now. Right, okay, yes, so we've got, on this first petal here, we've got our base layer down. And I need to decide where the light is going to hit, and it's going to be somewhere around here. So what that means is I can start darkening everything else up. Again, with the Polychromos pencils, you are better to use a light hand and put down a good couple of layers rather than just go in heavy-handed. You can do that with Prismacolor pencils. I'm sure most of you are aware of that anyway. So you have that option if you are using Prismas to go ahead and do that. But again, you tend to get a richer, fuller colour, I always think, if you build up layers regardless of what type of pencil you're using. And that goes for any of the pencils really. I really like this violet colour as well, it's nice. Okay, so the reason I've done that part is I know that that's, you know, that is going to be dark in there, and I'm happy that it's going to be the violet. So I've got that down first, and then I'm going to move on to this crimson colour. Except I've picked up the wrong pencil. Ah! Okay, we'll fix that, it'll be fine. So I'm going to bring this down here and just lighten my hand a little bit. Follow the contours of this petal. These little lines that Hannah has left us. Oh, that reminds me. Haha. After I had posted the last video, I put up a post on Instagram showing the picture that we're colouring and the fact that there was a video up for it. And Hanna Karlzon liked the Instagram post. So I did a little happy dance to myself. I was really, really chuffed with that. It's really nice when that happens. I have to say that Hanna is one of the more proactive colouring book illustrators on Instagram. She seems to be on quite a lot, and she posts a lot of things as well that she's working on and that kind of thing, and some of it's really, really interesting. So if you're on Instagram, check out Hanna Karlzon's Instagram, because she quite often will give you like a sneak peek of a sketch that she's doing for a new colouring book, which I love stuff like that. It's like, oh, I've seen it before anyone else. So yeah, that was really nice that she took the time to, you know, look through the posts that that have her hashtag, and she's actually taken the time to respond. And it's when you are like a super popular illustrator or, you know, whatever, you do get to a point where social media can become quite overwhelming, and there's just too much for you to cope with on your own. And unless you are you have a, you know, like a social media team or a, you know, a marketing team or that kind of thing, you can't expect to get around everybody and everything, because obviously that would be, you'd spend all your day on social media, you wouldn't actually do your job. But yeah, I just thought that was really nice. I thought that was really, really nice. So that pleased me. Okay, really starting to deepen these colours down now, especially in at this where these lines are coming down throughout. My crimson. I've just done it again. I've just picked up the middle purple pink again. It's obviously not meant to be. Well, okay, I'm going to have to make some sort of feature out of that, I think. And just build up this colour. Right, I'm going to take the middle purple pink and I'm just going to bring that line right down and round. All the way around here, and then we'll start fading it out a little bit. And again, it's to give this idea of a highlight, but we're not leaving it absolutely bright white, because I say it's more about the texture of what it is you're actually colouring. And for me, 9 times out of 10, petals aren't really sort of flat and shiny. They do have quite a bit of texture to them, and although they will show, you know, a bit of a highlight, they're not going to be, you know, the comparison I always give it is if you've ever polished a rubber plant, you can get the leaves really shiny on those. So to me, if you're doing greenery, if it doesn't look like a leaf off a rubber plant, then your highlight shouldn't be absolutely stark white. Just building this round now, and I'm taking my time a little bit here because I want to make sure that I don't overstep the mark when it comes to colouring this area that I want to be sort of in the highlight. I'm going back to my crimson now, and I'm just going to start pulling this out in this little middle section. I don't know what it is, but see, when I'm doing these videos, I seem to avoid using the colloquial Scottish wee as in to describe something small. I tend to say little, and I don't know whether I'm doing that for the benefit of my viewers or whether I've just decided I should be more polite. In my normal everyday life, I use wee all the time, as in wee dog, I have a wee dog. She is a Jack Russell, she is a wee dog. But I just don't seem to do it when I'm doing these videos, and I find it really odd because when I'm talking away like this, I'm not putting on a posh voice or anything like that. This is the way that I talk. But it's just funny how that word meaning small that I use all the time, it seems to escape my vocabulary when I'm doing videos for YouTube, and I have got no idea why. It's quite strange. Still, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm sure nobody minds. Okay, so there we go. You can see now the area that I've decided for my highlight. It's starting to stand out a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of work on this a wee... There we go again, I nearly said little. I'm just going to work on this in a wee... a wee bit. Just to make it stand out a little bit more, because I do think it looks a wee bit wishy-washy. I'm going to be really conscious. You guys are all going to be conscious of me saying that now as well. Wee. It's quite nice actually, because the Irish use it as well. Always feel a bit more at home when you hear, if you're talking to someone that's Irish and they use it, you're like, yay. Okay, that's good. I think just looking at the texture, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can see this. You can see that the texture of the paper is quite apparent through, just because it's the darker colours, it's not quite as noticeable up here, but there is still a lot of the tooth of the paper showing through. So once I'm finished this, I'm probably going to go back over with some blending medium just to sort of smooth that out a little bit. So we'll deal with that later. When I'm doing things like this, if I'm going to use a blender pencil or any other kind of blending spirit or anything, I tend to do it at the end once I'm finished the entire picture. I've said it before, I am a person who likes the texture of pencil. I'm not one of these people that wants everything really, really smooth, but even I have my limits. But I like to see the entire picture finished, and there's some places where I may leave the texture of the paper, and this part, oh my goodness me, this part here is a perfect example that having a little bit of that tooth showing helps to add depth and texture to that particular part. So I'll probably leave that, but I think I'm going to blend out these petals. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one over now. Now, because, again, we're thinking more about overlapping here, so down this side here, this one is clearly tucked in behind this one, so I'm going to make sure that that's nice and dark, and I'm going to bring this violet just a little bit further down. There we go again. I wish I hadn't said anything about that now. Just to give that impression again that it's you know, it's tucked in behind. So I will bring my darker colours, and that's a really good way to show something like that, is if you're using a gradient like this, bring your darker colours further down. And start just blending that out a little bit, fade it out. Okay, and I'm going to place the rest of my colours now. So keep the crimson. And then bring in my middle purple pink. We are. Back up to my violet. Just adding in a little bit of definition there. Again, it's really just to give it more depth and dimension. Might just do that in there as well while I'm thinking on it. I'm a little bit excited about the next week or so. My best friend has been watching from afar as I colour, and especially the last few days, because I have been unwell, I have been doing more colouring than I normally would, and she's sort of started to take an interest, and she said to me the other day, I think I'd like to have a shot at colouring. Do you think that would be okay? And I was like, hell yeah, of course that's okay. I got really excited about it because I have no one that shares my interest, you know, that's close by. I'm very much on my own with this, and that's why I have found that YouTube and Facebook and all these types of things have been really, really great, because I don't feel as if I'm this strange 30-something person that likes to colour, and you know, people give you funny looks and stuff, and it does happen. So I'm really quite excited that it's obviously been in her head for a wee while and she's not fully embraced it. So she has decided that this weekend she is going to have bought herself some sort of colouring book. I did say to her that I have some PDFs that I could print out for her, but she wants to go and look herself and see what's around and see what's kicking, and I think she's gonna give it a go. So I said to her, I was like, once you've got pencils and everything, you come to my house and we can have a colouring and beer date. So she got quite excited about that too. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm just having a rummage here in my pencil case. I am looking for my Payne's Grey. Here it is. This is a really good pencil. Even if you don't have a full set of polychromos, I highly recommend getting the Payne's Grey, because it's great for putting shadows in and just darkening down, which is exactly what I'm going to do along this line here. And I'm just doing it really, really lightly. And it's just to add, again, I can't really see that. If I zoom in a little bit. It's just to add a little bit more of dimension in terms of this petal hiding in behind the other one. There we go. The only thing that you've got to be careful of if you're doing this is if you're going to use a blender pencil, then you need to be careful that you don't draw that out too far and it ends up smudging into the rest of your petal and makes it look pretty grubby, to be honest. So just be careful with that. But the Payne's Grey pencil is awesome for that. I do use it quite a lot. I might move on to this one up here now and get my crimson down. What I'm going to do here, because this has got this turned up edge, I'm going to bring the crimson all the way down. And that's going to be really dark in there because it's curled away from us. So this is going to be a pretty dark looking petal. Kind of medium pressure now, and I'm not taking too much care. See, now that I know that I'm going to be going over this with some sort of blender, I'm like, yeah, back to my violet now. Let's get some depth in here. Start adding the layers in. There we go. I'm quite tempted now to bring in my Payne's Grey up here. Yeah, like that, that's good. Yep. The sun has gone behind a cloud now, can you tell? I'm not getting blinded. That's really nice. Thanks for that. Bring this quite far down as well, because I'm only using the two colours. I keep picking up the wrong pencil. I don't know what's wrong with me this morning. I don't think my brain's quite in gear yet. It is quite early in the morning. It's still only 8:10 in the morning. I have quite a lot of things to do today. So I figured that if I got up and did my video early on, then at least I would know it was done. I'm sure all of you have busy lives, and sometimes if you don't get round to something, it ends up not getting done at all. And we can't have that. One of the things that I have been told, and I have been learning as much as I can in terms of having a YouTube channel. I'm a person that likes to learn anyway. But one of the things that seems to be a key component is consistency in putting out your videos. So it's something that I've really taken that on board, and I will stick to my 2 videos a week. Obviously, there may be an odd occasion where there's exceptional circumstances, and you know, you can't. There's always going to be something crops up every now and then. But if I plan well enough, I usually film a couple of videos in front when I have the time, so that I've got a sort of a bank of videos, as it were, and that is in case something happens or for some reason I don't have time to film anything, and it means at least that the viewers, you guys out there, are still getting a video of some description. I'm starting to bank up my videos again because I'm getting married in a few weeks. I am away from the Friday to the Monday, so I'm essentially missing 2 videos, but there will be videos up for you while I'm away. I'll just schedule them because I don't want you guys missing out. So yeah, it's quite important to me. If I've got the time and I am not too busy, sometimes, you know, I will start on an extra video, or start on the next video, should I say, at least make a start on it, so that I'm not running about at the last minute, because the last thing I want is for you guys to not have any videos to watch, and especially when you're expecting them now on a Friday and a Monday. So yeah, it just seemed like a good idea this morning to get up and just do the video first thing, especially since the weather's pretty good and it's nice and bright. I do like to work by natural light. In the winter, I am going to have to buy some sort of LED, probably an alt light or something, because our winters are very long and dark. We do not have a lot of daylight hours, and unfortunately in those daylight hours I have to work. I wouldn't be able to make YouTube videos. So, but we'll tackle that when it comes to that time. I'm not going to go for much of a highlight here at all, just a tiny little bit here, just again because this is petal, it's kind of tucked in behind. I don't want anything ridiculous sort of standing out. Yeah, so apparently with YouTube videos, consistency is key in terms of keeping your viewers and your subscribers happy, which I am endeavouring to do. We want you guys to be happy, because if you're happy, I'm happy. I do have a lot of videos in the pipeline. I keep a list of videos that I am going to make, and there's certain ones that crop up regularly, like the scroller box unboxing and the scroller challenge, and I kind of try and factor them in round about, you know, the other ideas and the suggestions that come from you guys as well. So at the moment I have a huge list of videos that I want to do and that I will be doing over the next few weeks. But one of the things is trying to get a balance between my colouring videos and my drawing videos, because I do like doing both. And sometimes I find that if I get a bit enthusiastic about something, you know, if I've got a colouring page that I really like, then I tend to find that my drawing will go by the wayside for, you know, sometimes a week or so, and that's not good. You need to, with any skill, you need to keep practicing regularly, or else you're never going to improve. And one of my goals this year is to drastically improve my artwork. So it's quite important to me that I do try and sort of strike that balance. But also for my subscribers, I know that the bulk of my subscribers are colourists, they are not artists. And that makes sense, because my colouring is far more advanced than my artwork. So, you know, I get that, but it's important for me to do both. So I'm doing my best, guys, to keep a balance for you. I know the likes of the scroller boxes are quite good for everyone. You know, that's just not just an artist specific thing, because everybody likes new art supplies, let's face it. Right, I'm going back with my Payne's grey now. Oh, there's the sun back out. And I'm just coming underneath this little folded over leaf, and again, it's just to put a wee bit of shadow in there. There we go, just to make that pop out a little bit. And that is all you need. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, I know it looks really grainy. Oh, wow, my hand's huge. It looks quite grainy, but it's only because I'm zoomed in really far. When I zoom back out, you'll see the impact of it. It's much much nicer. So there we go, how's that? That looks pretty. Alright, we're going to do these little parts here, and I'm going to have a think about this because they are pretty small. And if I look down at these ones, because the colours I have picked out for these are, I have 4 colours, and there is no way I'm going to fit 4 colours in there, but I don't want to fit 4 colours in there. Okay, so I have orange glaze and I have light cadmium red. So with the orange glaze, I'm just going to take a tickle on the very edge of this. And then I'm just going to sort of feather it out because I'm going to blend in this other colour. And I'm going to do that on both of these. Okay, and I'm taking the darker orange, which is supposedly red, but it's not really red at all. And I'm just going to line the other side in against our purple petals that we've already done. Again, that's just a medium pressure, and then feather out the edges so that we can blend these together. And I'm going to bring this orange all the way down here as well. I'm going to bring it down this edge, and again, that's really for the overlap effect. I'm not going to use Payne's Grey there on these much paler colours. Okay, so there we go, just start blending that in really lightly. Take my orange glaze. I really like this colour as well, orange glaze. I find it's very versatile. It can be very bright and vibrant if you want it to be, but it can also be quite a delicate pastel-y colour if you ease up on the pressure when you're working with it. And I love pencils like that because you can do so much with them. Just blend that in a little bit. Again, I'm leaving a tiny lighter patch there. I mean, it is absolutely minuscule. Along here. Okay, and taking my darker colour, I'm going to go to town with this. I really want this to pop out. Just again follow the contours of the wee lines that Hannah has left us. The last thing that I'm going to do, and it's just really so that I can show you where we're going with this, I'm going to do this big square petal here to show you the full range of colours, because that really doesn't do it justice. I don't think it looks like much. But the full set of colours that I have picked for these petals are the original 2 that we were just working with there, which was the orange glaze and the light cadmium red. I also have deep red, and the darkest colour I have is madder, which is quite a nice colour as well. So if you can imagine from this sort of purpley pink, and then in at the base of these petals, we're going to start with the madder, and if I show you this colour down on here, it's like a sort of pinky red colour. And it's really very nice, it's lovely. And I'm just going to bring this, it is quite an intense colour though, so you know, I want to make sure that I don't kind of overdo it. But I'm just going to bring that down and start to sort of lighten up in between here. Maybe bring this down in here a little bit. There we go, and just start feathering that out. This is basically a straight gradient. So that is madder, and then into the deep red. So start pulling that down. To maybe here. That's maybe a bit far down actually. Again, just light hand, very, very light hand. Till we get our colour placement. And then I'm back to the 2 colours that we were using before. So that is the light cadmium red, which is actually orange. So you can see where I'm going with this now. You know, you can see where my logic was in that. And then the orange glaze at the very tip. I always love how completely and utterly disastrous things look. See, when you're at this stage of colouring, anybody walking in from the outside would look at that and think, how the heck is that going to end up being even remotely pretty? You've got to learn not to look at your work, not to criticise your work when it's at this stage, because every colouring page, every drawing has that transitional period, and you've got to remember that it still needs a lot of work. It's a bit like a marriage, you've got to keep working at it. So don't read too much into that. Don't scrutinise your work until you're about 3/4 finished. That's what I always say, because by then you're not, back to the deep red, you're not too late to have to fix something, but you've given yourself a chance to work away at it and see if you can do anything about it. There you go. Just making sure I've got the right pencils here. I'm using a sort of flicking motion here. I'm really thinking about a bit like the grain on wood. I'm kind of going with the grain and then just, you know, back to that sort of scumbling motion at the edges. And I'm really just trying to add texture, because much as I'm going to blend this out, I don't really want to have to do it everywhere. As I say, I'm not really a fan of having everything sort of shiny smooth. It's just not, it doesn't appeal to me. So if we can keep a bit of texture, then, you know, that would be better. I would like that. Okay, so pressing down with this orange glaze now, just at the corners there. Make that pop. When you're doing gradients like this, take your time to tweak things. You know, go back, add in a little bit more of your darker colour or whatever here and there. You know, really spend the time over it. I think that a lot of people don't like their finished work, and I know for me certainly a lot of the time it can be due to impatience and just wanting to finish it, instead of taking the time to go back in, go back over, you know, add another layer of madder or whatever pencil it is you're using. If you have urgency when you're colouring, 9 times out of 10 in my experience, you're going to be dissatisfied with the result, and you're going to be more annoyed about it because you know you've only yourself to blame. So even one tiny petal like this, I'm not going to sit here for hours and hours. I'm not that patient, but I am taking my time to keep eyeballing it, looking at it, and adding to it, so that I get, you know, a really nice sort of finished result, and I can take a step back at the end and say, I tried my best with that. You know, I'm satisfied because I know I've put the work into it, and that's me produced something to the best of my ability. I was having a laugh, a chuckle the other night. I was on one of the social media sites. I shall not go into specifics, but there was a lady there who had torn out multiple pages of her colouring books because she had made a mess of them, and I think that is absolutely insane. Why would you ever pull a colouring page out of a book? I mean, these books are beautiful and some of them are really expensive. It's not, you're not going to learn it. See, if you don't keep your mistakes in front of you, even as humans, advanced as we are, we have very, very short memories. And if you pull out pages repeatedly like that and you bin them or whatever, you're never going to learn from your mistakes. It's better to have it as a reminder. I did say that when I did my Desert Island top 10, my copy of Enchanted Forest was the first colouring book I had, and it was the only colouring book I had. So it really is, it's a sort of chronicle of you know, my colouring skills right from the very beginning up to where I am now. And it's actually quite nice to look at it and see how far I've come, and you know, you can see the progression, and I think that's lovely. So be proud of you. See, if you do make a mistake, it's okay to make a mistake. It's only a colouring book, no one's going to die. But keep it there as a reminder. Anyway, enough about that. So you can see that's the impact that we're going to get, and next to this sort of purpley pink, it's going to look lovely. And when we come down to these sort of you know, the sort of hanging areas, we're going to go into some yellows, and the gemstones, we're going to pick up colours from, you know, each part of the palette to really sort of tie it all together. So that's where I'm going with that. I'm going to stop here. I think this video's gone on long enough. I hope you've enjoyed yourself today. If you like what you see and you haven't subscribed, you can hit that subscribe button. If you don't want to subscribe, I'm totally cool with that, but if you could leave me a thumbs up, that would be amazing. We are still trying to grow the channel, and we're getting there, but we are still obviously a very small channel, so any thumbs up are always a help. I do put 2 videos out a week, once on a Monday and once on a Friday, so you have plenty of things to keep you occupied, and hopefully we'll see you all soon in the Colour Cave. Have a good day, guys. Bye.